I'm Josh, living life alcohol free. This is our every other day sober meeting, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and we pick a different topic uh, each meeting. And anything you want to share today, feel free to share. I've got a topic because I made a couple of videos this week. I got one coming out at noon today. It's about being a dad, being sober, and over 40, and what that's been like for me, and maybe you can relate to that. Uh, this past Sunday, I posted one that was, in general, parenting as a sober person, being alcohol free, and what it's like to parent. How alcohol kind of destroys any kind of relationship we can have, especially if we're alcohol, we have problems with it. If we are stuck in addiction and we're trying to parent uh, because we aren't meeting our own basic needs, and that's it's not good. It's something that we can kind of work with. We want to get out, we can get out. There's hope. Uh, if we're younger, I started thinking about problems with my alcohol use when I was in my 20s. I mean, I really knew it when I was in my later teenage years, especially when I got that DUI when I was 19. But into my 20s, I really started to wonder, am I just going to drink my whole life? Because I drink every other day religiously. I drank a lot. I drank to the point where I'd start at 2 or 3 in the afternoon, drink all day, and then kind of and that was usually after work. I worked Monday through Friday, but I got off pretty early in the day, usually 2 or 3 o'clock. And I'd start right after I got home from work and wouldn't stop until I was going to bed. And that really just went on all through my 20s. I ended up uh, really thinking about my problems with alcohol when I was having panic attacks. I was 24 years old when I had my first big panic attack, and my heart rate was like 160. I went to the hospital overnight, and it didn't go back down under 100 till the next day. That's really when I started to question my drinking. Am I gonna just gonna keep drinking like this? And then uh, that started to get a little bit better. But then I had acid reflux, and I couldn't hold food down uh, for about 6 months for when I was 28 years old. And I ended up losing like 25, 30 pounds to the point where, man, I'm like, do I keep drinking or do I try to knock it off? I couldn't. I couldn't just knock it off because I didn't have the tools that I needed to quit drinking yet. We have to have community, and that's why I set up these meetings for Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. For all of you here, welcome. My name is Josh, living life alcohol free. Welcome to the group. If you got anything to share, please feel free. Today's topic, I'm really just discussing what it's like to parent in your 40s, um, and be either addicted or be a sober person, be someone who's alcohol free, and what that has been like for you. How you doing? And yeah, that's really what this topic is about today, because I've posted a couple things. On Sunday, I posted a video about parenting in sobriety. And then today at noon, I've got a video coming out about being in my 40s, being sober, being a dad, and what that's been like. I've been 5 years sober. I quit drinking in 2020 during the pandemic. Uh, Hi, Bentley. I've got close to 1,000 subs so far, and build on that. So welcome. Glad you're here. Um, so yeah, I've got those two videos. This week has been really just about parenting and what sobriety has been. Thank you very much. Alcohol-free living has been a huge blessing to me and my family. When I was stuck in my addiction, I really neglected the needs of those around me. And it was because I couldn't uh, give myself my basic needs. I talk a lot about HALT, hungry, angry, lonely, and tired, and 524 subs. Awesome. Keep on going. Hi, Dane. Welcome in. And so I'm talking about HALT and just how important that is in our basic needs. If we're hungry, angry, or lonely or tired, and we can notice those things right away, that really helps us. But if we're stuck with our addiction, with drinking, and really alcohol is number one in our life, it doesn't really matter what we need. We can't recognize it. It's hard to give us what ourselves what we need. So if we're not giving ourselves what we need, how can we be there for the ones that we love and care about? And if you drink like I did, or if you drink like I did, you wake up thinking about alcohol. You anticipate your session of drinking. You get to that session, and once you start, you are in it, and you're not going anywhere. You're not going to be driving. Maybe you are, but if you're like me, I got a DUI when I was 19, so I kind of swore off drinking and driving when I was young, and I kind of look at that situation like it was a kind of a blessing in disguise, even though it was painful to go through it. I learned that if I do it again and get caught, that I'm basically going to have to deal with the fallout of that. And the older we get, especially if we're parents or we're married, we have careers, we have things going on in our life. DUI can destroy that, all that, and especially multiple ones. I drive for my job, so I drive quite a few people that have had DUIs, are in trouble, can't drive, and I drive them around. I talk with them openly about my sobriety, and I feel like it's important to get that out there. I didn't talk about my sobriety openly for the first like 3 years of being sober, because I just, I didn't want to jinx it. That was really the main reason. And sometimes it's uncomfortable because you feel like people are going to judge you. But if they're talking about it to me and telling me their problems, then I'll just talk to them about what I've been going through. And I haven't seen any real issues. Hi, Ella. Good morning. So far, so good. It's been a good morning. I'm not working today. That's always nice. My daughter's at school, so I've got the morning to myself. It's pretty rainy here today. I don't know if you can see the raindrops in the background, but yeah, it's pretty rainy here today. So I don't know what I'll be doing. I'll probably watch a movie later, work on some of my YouTube stuff, and just kind of enjoy the day. But yeah, so getting sober, and then drinking, uh, drinking in being a parent is almost impossible. Having those authentic relationships with your kids as a drinker is almost impossible. First and foremost, I mean, we say and we do things that we normally wouldn't say or do if we were sober. And that's really the first key. Um, Kind of forgetting things is another big deal. If they tell you things, or they confide in you, if you are in the clutches of your drinking and you're blacking out, you're not going to remember what you guys even talked about the next day. And you might say something and they'll be like, "Remember, Dad?" And I'm like, "No." Well, I don't want to say no, but I mean, honestly, I don't remember. So I got to a point where I was writing stuff down. um, my daughter's in fifth grade, so yep. I've got 4 kids. I've got all girls. The older ones that are grown up now pretty much all moved out. Um, so I went through basically from the time that I got married until 2020, which was 10 years, though the older girls were in their teenage years, and man, was that hard. I mean, people like laughed and mocked, and they don't get it. People just say stuff, right? I mean, they don't understand. Um, and sometimes they're not wrong, raising teenagers wasn't exactly a piece of cake. It was probably the hardest thing I ever did in my life. Um, but I drank through all of those years, and my drinking increased, especially when I lost my job in 2016. I went through basically like 10 months without working, and I was really trying to find a job, but nothing was happening. And my oldest daughter was home. Um, Ella says, "Yeah, they do, but just to make yourself feel bad about yourself." Yeah, that could be true. Yeah, even though they don't mean it, it comes out that way a lot, and it does. It can really wear you down. I talk about that in the video that I made coming out at noon today. Being 40, being a dad, and being in sobriety, looking back on all those years, yeah, yeah, it can wear you down, tear you down. They can hurt your feelings. I mean, and you don't really want to talk about that with them. They don't, they're just kids. They're just being kids. Um, but if you try to talk, sometimes if I tried to talk to my wife about how I felt, she's right in the same boat as I am. And although she didn't have a problem with alcohol, um, I mean, we both drank, but I mean, I would drink to oblivion, and she didn't. She hasn't been like that. I mean, she's cut back a lot, I think, since I quit drinking. Um, but she still has a glass of wine or two here and there, and it is whatever. But it's not. She doesn't use it as like a crutch like I did. So yeah, drinking like that and trying to have real authentic relationships with our kids. And then, if they're being mean like that, like you're saying, my experience has been, have a good day. Thanks for joining in. Have a great sober day. And yeah, if you drink to kind of quiet the voices, the problem with drinking to quiet those voices is that you're drowning out all the good things, all the positives of being a parent, and there are a ton, and it's a blessing. It really is to have that opportunity to raise kids is such a blessing. And when we're drinking, and if we're addicted to alcohol and binge drinking, it can really have a really profound impact on your life and your parenting and your marriage. And so that's really how I experienced it. Uh, the benefits of being sober are a being getting sober was like the first step. I always knew that I had problems like with my mental health. I always knew that my self-esteem lacked. I always knew that I needed to work on more than just not drinking. But in order to get over the hurdles of those other mental roadblocks, drinking was the cure all for that. It didn't solve all my problems. I see a lot of people out here that quit drinking that still have a lot of problems. And I wonder, like anger and irritability and other problems in their life, and I wonder, are they, taking the next step? I posted a meme on my posts on the channel today with a caterpillar and a butterfly talking to each other, and the butterfly, the caterpillar asks or tells the butterfly, you gotta grow up, and or why did you change? And he said, because you have to. And that's just how it is. Like, you have to grow out of your uh, addiction to get to the other side. of the other mental issues that you're facing. That's kind of what I kind of knew all along, but it wasn't really, I wasn't really able to confront those other issues until I was able to knock the drinking out. And once I was able to do that, then I was able to kind of take the next step and work on my self esteem, my guilt and shame that I carried around all the time, because that's really what I did. Feeling that guilt and shame all the time will keep you in addiction. It's not healthy. And I mean, we all have feelings of guilt every now and then, especially if we're parents. The kids will always try to make you feel guilty, and they're not doing it purposefully. They're just doing it to get what they want, you know? Um, but if that guilt is constant and then it turns into shame, that's really when we have issues. And so that's kind of why I made my channel about faith and sobriety, because faith and my spirituality has played a huge role in my ability to get sober, stay sober, talk about my sobriety, because I'm doing all this for the glory of God. I'm not doing this for my glory, or anybody else's. I'm doing this for God. And I had that conversation early on, um, with God about, like, what do I make this channel? What's the calling here? I talked to my pastor. I did a church testimonial, um, about my sobriety and how I gave all the credit to God getting me out of my addiction. And that's really been step two of that process. I mean, like I said, I had to fix my mental health, my self confidence, um, my ability to not care so much about what other people thought of me. That was a huge thing. I mean, and I didn't really work on that until year three in my sobriety. But that was a huge blessing, to be able to, um, kind of get to a point where, no matter what someone else thinks, it's not going to affect what I'm doing. And I used to let that affect me big time. Even to the point, I mean, on this platform, I don't get it very often, but I do get some kind of like hate comments. And like I said, it doesn't happen frequently, thankfully. But when it does, uh, sometimes I'll reply. It depends on what it is. Sometimes I'll just delete it. Um, yeah, sometimes I'll delete. I've never actually like reported it or anything like that. And it's never been that bad. Um, but the main thing is that I can let that go. In the past, I let that eat me away, or eat at me. How often do we ruminate when we're drinking? We ruminate on all the bad stuff that happened. I mean, as a drinker, I ruminated on stuff that happened 30 years ago, and stuff that happened around when I started turning to alcohol to cope with life. And I started when I was 15 years old. So I was constantly thinking, like, what would have happened if I would have made this choice and that choice, and was drinking the reason why I made those choices? Was drinking the reason why I got into trouble? Because I got into some trouble. I was able to kind of skate through it somehow. I don't know how I survived my teenage years. I think that's pretty common. Uh, it, I mean, I talked to some people, my wife in particular. Um, her upbringing was, I mean, it was kind of similar to mine, but she didn't make those same like choices that I did. I made some really poor choices. Like a trip to Cancun for my senior year, and I won't even get into detail about that. If you want to know, you can join my sobriety group on Facebook. I got a private group on there, Sobriety in the Storm, and I share more in-depth stuff on there. And but yeah, just poor choices. I mean, I got a minor in possession when I was 17. I was stealing. I was lying. Then I got the DUI when I was 19. I went away to college. I got a couple of tickets. I lived with four other guys in a townhouse, and we had parties every Thursday. And both years that I was living with them, we got tickets. The cops showed up at our party. They were keggers, and the first time, all my roommates fled, and I stayed. I didn't want to run, and I ended up getting a ticket for that. I had to do some community service, um, and I don't know, pay a fine. It was like 300 or 400 bucks, and then ultimately ended up dropping out of college, not really by choice, but it happened that way, and I made all those choices, and alcohol played a big factor in that. I mean, it caused my problems, but then I drank to soothe the outcomes of all of those problems. So how much sense does that make? Addiction doesn't make any sense. Addiction is a tricky thing. You drink to kind of help you, but that causes the problems, a lot of the problems in your life. Then you drink to wash away those thoughts and those ruminations of all those problems. It's nasty, and it's a vicious cycle. And anticipating the drinking session, I mean, yeah, it's enticing and it's exciting. But how much money do we spend on alcohol? You know, um, I probably spent 10 to 20 bucks every drinking session. I didn't drink expensive stuff, but I mean, I drink a lot. So, I mean, I would spend, probably 60, 70, 80 bucks, maybe 100 bucks a week drinking. Add all that up. I mean, you're spending thousands of dollars on alcohol every year. And if you're younger, maybe you go to the bar and those drinks are expensive. I mean, you could be spending 10, 15. I know some people that spend 10, $15,000 a year on alcohol and drinking. And I mean, it becomes like your life. It consumes you. And then you try to be a good parent or a good husband or mother or wife or partner, and like you can't, because the alcohol has overtaken your entire uh, life. Like you're just, that's really all you want to do is drink. And man, that just eats away at and then you smell like booze. You're talking to your significant other, or you're trying to talk to your kids, tuck them in at bed at night, and you smell like a brewery. And I think they remember that. I know they remember that. And that's not the memories I want to impress on my children. And it took me a long time to get to a point where I was ready to be sober. But I mean, I found a book. I found This Naked Mind by Annie Grace. I read that in like 2 days. I joined the community. I was on there every single day until I didn't need to drink and feel the urge to drink anymore. And that was the key. Community was always the key, but I didn't have that, and I feel like I lucked out really by finding that group right when I did, because I never really thought about looking online for groups. AA never worked for me. And I never really thought about, even looking on Facebook at groups. Um, so that was a website, This Naked Mind. I got on there. Now they have an app. They launched like a real app 2 years ago, maybe three now. And it changed quite a bit in that time. I kind of weaned off of This Naked Mind for a little while. And then completely, like 6 months ago, that's kind of when I launched my own Facebook group uh, last year, and then started the channel last year. And uh, I just recently started doing these lives Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 10 o'clock. Uh, I don't see myself missing those days, but things come up, things like that. But my goal is to stay consistent. I'm uploading a long form video every Wednesday and Sunday, and then I'm doing shorts still when I can. Usually like 2 or 3 days a week. I'll post a short, and then I'm doing these lives every, like I said, Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 10 o'clock. And my goal is to build a community of like-minded people that can help each other out. We can talk on here. We can talk on my Facebook group if you want to join that. Um, all my videos have the link to my Facebook group pinned in the comments. So if you go over to my channel, you watch my videos, scroll down to the comments, you'll see I have a link for more videos, and I have a link for my Facebook group. I'd love to have you over there. I just have a few questions that you have to answer. If you don't feel comfortable answering all of them, maybe just answer one. But really, it's just, are you sober curious, and why are you looking to be sober? And I mean, we have all different reasons for wanting to be sober. I mean, mine in particular at the end was because I was angry and irritable all the time. I was saying things, I was acting out, I was lashing out. I never felt heard, I never felt understood. And those reactions to people's behavior, I would just lash out when they didn't say what I wanted to hear. And that was a problem. I didn't want to act like that anymore. I kind of grew up with a dad that had reactions like that, and I felt myself going into the same old patterns that my dad um, presented to me. And my wife would say some things in particular, like, "You can't handle anything," and that really dug at me. It was like she's not wrong. I mean, I tried to say, I can handle some stuff, but for the most part, I wasn't handling like any volatile situation. So I just would rather be by myself. So, and that's not good either when we're starting to isolate, um, and just like go further and further into that hole of addiction and escapism, and just not want to talk. I mean, that really is a red flag, was a red flag for me. And I wanted to be able to handle stuff, and I wanted to have good relationships with my family. I didn't want to continue lashing out, barking, having a problem. I talked about it in a couple of videos I made. The cucumber story, I call it, and it was like the last real lash out that I had after I quit drinking. And I wasn't like completely over all that anger, irritability, and frustration right away. It took me a little while. I mean, it got better for sure. And I was on medication. I was on Zoloft for 2 years before I quit. And then I was on it for like 6 months after I quit. But the cucumber story was, so it was like 5 months into my sobriety, 4 or 5 months, and I was shaving the cucumber over the trash can. My dog's crate was right behind me, and I didn't have much room there, and I was already kind of tangled up behind in my foot, and I turned and I tripped, and I was so frustrated with the whole circumstance that I just kind of like flung the cucumber, and of course I just shaved it so it was slippery. It slipped out of my hand. I mean, I threw it basically, but it's flung out, hit the coffee pot, knocked the coffee pot to the ground, shattered all over the place, and I was just left there like, why did I even do that? You know what I mean? Why did I get so mad? Uh, I could have moved the dog crate out of the way, gave myself some room, taken my time, but I didn't do any of that, and I let it really get to me. And that's kind of why I felt like I was, I drank for a long time, when I was around people or around too much, I felt like I was boxed in, and I just wanted to like the Hulk, like just kind of like lash out, uh like bust out of my clothes, like the Hawk, and just like turn green and get all bent out of shape and mad. And really, all that ever did was push people away. But so the cucumber and the coffee maker are all shattered on the ground. Took a couple deep breaths. I got the broom and dustpan out, cleaned it up, vacuumed, and just as I was doing that, made my plan to go up to the store to find a new coffee maker, and just go from there. But yeah, that ended up taking a couple hours to go to the store, buy a new coffee maker, and all because I got angry and flipped the cucumber out of my hand, and it just happened to hit the coffee maker and break. But that was like the real last time that I lashed out. Um, and man, I'll never forget it because it was like that was such a stupid thing. Nobody else was around. I was the only one there to witness it. And to be honest, it was embarrassing. I'm kind of glad that I was by myself when that happened. I'm really glad that I was by myself when that happened. And so yeah, so I kind of learned my lesson from that. After that, it's like just make a plan. You know, uh, don't get so worked up, and if you are feeling yourself get anxious, um, just kind of take a break. Like I said, halt, hungry, angry, lonely, or tired. It could be because you're hangry. It could be just because you're tired. You need to go lay down. I mean, there's been hundreds of times in these 5 years where I'm like, man, I just need to go close my eyes and sit or lay down for like 5 minutes, and that works wonders. Uh, it's sometimes it's hard to relax, and when I was drinking, it was really hard to just take a minute, 5 minutes, 10 minutes to just decompress. And now that's something that I can give myself. I can give myself that time, that grace. Pray. I use prayer a lot, and those are just some of the things that I use as tools to kind of just start back over again. Rarely am I lonely, but it's usually hungry or tired. But if I'm angry, I'm not. Yeah, I'm definitely not going to be around anybody, and I'll just take some time to unwind and start over again. But the blessings keep coming in sobriety and being a parent and being a spouse and being uh, there for people that you know first and foremost we can show up for ourselves. That's the biggest thing. I didn't show up for myself for pretty much my entire life until I quit drinking and took accountability for my behavior, my actions. Once I did that, um, things have happened and blessings have happened, and so many things have transpired over these 5 years that but yeah, that I'm at a point where it's just I can talk about it. I can be open about it, and not have any shame. I think our society is kind of shifting. I see a lot more non-alcoholic drinks. I hear a lot more people talking about their sober October or dry January, or saying, I'm trying to not drink today at parties and stuff like that. And when I hear those things, man, it's like, oh, it's not only good for you, but it's like it's good for everybody. Like it's just sobriety is so much better than I ever could have imagined. As a drinker, it was impossible to imagine a life without alcohol. But then once you get some distance from alcohol, it's easier to see that you don't have to have it. It's not necessary, and it was causing a lot of problems: weight gain, health issues, costs a lot of money. You gotta drive sometimes if you're going to parties. You gotta drive afterwards. You say things if you're getting too buzzed at a party or something like that, you start saying things that uh, wouldn't normally say, and it's not authentic. It's not work. That's not us. And disassociating yourself from being a drinker. Like I used to think of myself, Josh, the drinker, and then when I quit drinking, I became kind of like Josh, the non-drinker, and then I just became Josh. I'm just Josh. Like I don't think of myself as a recovering alcoholic or anything like that, or label myself as a non-drinker. I just, if someone asks if I want to drink, I say no, thank you. It's simple as that. And I haven't had anyone in a couple years be like, say some snide comments. Like I had a parent couple. It was like a year after the pandemic started. So yeah, it's already been like 4 years. But they were giving out Jello shots, and um, they said, "Do you want a Jello shot?" And I said, "No." And he said, "Well, it looks like you need one." And I just was like, you know. But then I just went back home and I was like, "Man, this is Halloween. I mean, it's a kids thing, and parents are out there getting wasted and making jokes about people that aren't drinking." And it's like, okay, well, that says more about them than it says about me. You know what I mean? It says more about where they are with their drinking and their mental health than it says about me. So I just look at it like that. Like I said, I haven't had any comments like that in a while, so I don't really think anything of it. But like I said, I think society's changed and kind of accepted more of, alcohol in any amount really isn't good. And especially the younger generation, it seems like they don't really even look towards alcohol. So that's encouraging. I think drinking as a whole, uh, and teenagers is down a lot. The last stat I saw, it was down. I don't know, compared to like high schoolers that drank when I was a teenager to now, it's like in half, and that's encouraging. Kids aren't drinking as much or feeling the pressure to drink as much. So I love that, and yeah, I'm just going to keep on putting out the good word. And if you're here and you stuck around, thank you so much for being here. Um, like I said, I've got a sobriety group, and I've got videos coming out every Sunday and Wednesday. So please like, subscribe if you found it valuable. I plan on being back on Friday, 10 o'clock, and we'll see you then. Thanks everybody who stuck around, and we'll see you. Have a great day. Great sober day.